Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. Yes, it's only Tuesday, and Iran is being offered one last choice: negotiate or pay the price. Now, President Trump's saying a deal is possible, but warns the bombing campaign will resume if Tehran refuses. This as Iran-backed Houthis have already escalated by firing ballistic missiles at a tanker in the Red Sea. Just flatten them, all right? Plus, a Capitol farewell. Lawmakers from both parties, along with President Trump, honored Lindsey today, reflecting on decades of service and the legacy he's going to leave behind. And hike or hold, Trump's new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, signaling a potential interest rate hike ahead of tomorrow's Fed decision, setting the stage for a market-moving announcement. But first, Democrats do all the things they do because Republicans let them do it. Grow a backbone, and Democrats will stop their shenanigans. Let's do this. All right. What if I told you the guy who pushed the DOJ to raid Mar-a-Lago to make it look like Trump was harboring like some classified nuclear codes appeared to be actually sharing classified information with the intent of publication for himself in an apparent exchange for an $8 million book deal?
Some of this may be classified, so be careful with it. I'm not sure. It's not more classified, but I just found all the classified stuff downstairs. I wrote the president a handwritten 40-page memorandum.
And what we're finding out today as we comb through these recordings between Biden and his ghostwriter show that it sure seems that Biden did exactly what he used the FBI to raid Mar-a-Lago for a few years earlier, which is why Biden sued to try to keep these recordings secret, because he didn't want the U.S. and Americans who, by the way, we have paid his salary for like 5 decades, okay, since he's been in office, because he didn't want us to know that he appeared to be sharing secret information again for an $8 million book deal. Because when he said this, it was a bold-faced lie.
I did not share classified information. I did not share it.
With your ghostwriter?
With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But the special counsel said it.
No, I did not say that.
Okay. But he did. And you know what makes me even more mad? Special counsel Robert Hur he knew this was the case because he had access to those tapes. He knew that Joe Biden did exactly what he denied doing, and he didn't charge him. Remember, he said, we've also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. He was the president! And that's why he still didn't charge Joe Biden. But more importantly, they should have, and they didn't charge Mark Zwansner. That was Biden's ghostwriter, who seems to have tried to cover this up. If you recall, and you could just read it, it's right in Hur's report, quote, while the ghostwriter admitted that he deleted recordings after he learned of the special counsel investigation. What? That's actually... He went on to say that he didn't think he was to impede the investigation. What was it for? That timing's awful suspicious. He wasn't doing it for like hard drive space, that's for sure. I mean, what a terrible investigator. Or he had other motives. Robert Hur charged no one in like a simple case. This is part of the situation of why people are not pleased with Republicans. It doesn't matter that Hur was an independent counsel. All we care about is that Democrats are doing whatever they want and then nothing happens. That's what I care about. That's why I voted for Trump 3 times, because I wanted something to happen. And the people that he's appointing are just giving Trump the finger and saying, no, I'm not going to do anything. The Democrats, when they're in charge, they just invent crimes and then they charge Republicans with them, sometimes with made up crimes. They even change the statute of limitations. But then you have Russian collusion, which, by the way, Joe Biden was the vice president when that scheme was thought up. He, Obama, and Hillary, they made that whole thing up. They deposed all kinds of Republicans for God knows what, investigate them. Democrats used that investigation to go looking for other crimes that didn't even relate to that with other people that weren't even in the orbit, and whether they were real or not. They locked up Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro when they couldn't secure convictions. They just made the process the punishment for people, too. And they bankrupt their political enemies by using our tax dollars, by the way. They violate FISA laws like they did with Mike Flynn, where his info was, by law, masks. They violated that legal confidentiality to go after him and ruin his life for something that he didn't actually do, all the while Biden wanted to charge him with the Logan Act for doing his job as the incoming national security advisor, which is ironic because if it's about foreign interference, because that's what the Logan Act is, it pertains to non-sanctioned Americans conducting foreign interference outside of their purview. But Joe Biden, I seem to recall, threatening to withhold American tax dollars in aid unless a Ukrainian prosecutor was fired for looking into the company that his son Hunter was making $1 million a year from being on the board of.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
Nope. Oh, Carl, you seem super angry. I am so angry about this stuff. Conservatives get the shaft on literally everything because the people we stick our neck out for, that we send to office, that we donate to, we knock on doors for, we make phone calls, and we put the stickers on our car, they don't do a damn thing when they get there. Republicans have the trifecta of government right now, and we can't pass something that 80% of the nation wants, which is voter ID. Yet when Democrats are in charge, they ram through things that we don't want. 60% of America didn't want universal health care. By the way, that tripled the price of health care while they lock up grandma for praying silently outside of an abortion clinic. How many times do we have to sit here and just take this two-tiered system? Because if you people in D.C. don't start hearing us, you're going to foster a monsoon to water the tree of liberty. I am done sugarcoating this. Do you even realize how pissed off we are? It's just like, nope, taking a 37-day vacation. These people don't care. It's always about the narrative for them. When they're proven to have lied, they will literally just lie to your face. And then when you call them out, they just change the subject or make it about some emotional thing to try to make you feel bad for them. Just like we showed you last night. They get bad polling about, no, abolish ISIS, polling bad. You know what? We'll just say that never happened. Even though there is video of them doing this every single day. Same thing with this. On cue, Biden's spokesman, which, by the way, has got to be the worst job in the world. Okay? Like, how bad are you that you get assigned to be the spokesman to the same president who was ousted by his own party 90 days before an election? That can't even raise money, by the way, to build a library. He'll be the first modern president to not have a presidential library. Anyway, his spokesman said in a statement when all this started coming out with her, quote, President Biden's conversations for a book a decade ago that discussed his late son are private. His late son. Notice a single network that I've seen even acknowledged parts about anything connecting to his son. The only part I did see was that Biden didn't know that his son died of cancer. He thought he died. He said he died in Iraq, which way off. And then dutifully, obviously, the liberal media just refused to report on this classified stuff. I think it was like one left-leaning network had 24 seconds on this story. Guys, after they shot Trump in the ear, I told you about how it was us versus them. There is now only we and they. They investigated Trump until they couldn't fake it anymore. They impeached him, and that didn't work. Then they charged him in 4 jurisdictions and convicted him of things that have never been seen in the inside of a courtroom in America. They tried to kick him off the ballot, and now they have tried to assassinate him. We told you about the poor guy Wilson, who was taking the IRS on. Us versus them. That guy, he won, though, thankfully. Every American right now is fighting to survive because, as you can see on that graph, the D.C. machine printed so much money after lying to us about so much on COVID. Everything on COVID was BS. They printed so much money that for this massive wealth transfer to their buddies that the same dollar that you and I earned in 2020 is only worth 70 cents now because inflation that they caused. These same people, they bury us when we do the littlest thing wrong. Now they got flock cameras. I'm about to shove a leash up our rear end every single day. Drones flying over my house. They went after one guy who, by the way, one of the guys who shot bin Laden for writing in his book about something that might be classified. It cost him millions in legal fees to defend that when they should have given him a bigger medal for it. Something that didn't even violate any classification, just simply contradicted the Obama narrative, by the way. But they locked up Christian Saucier. He was a young enlisted sailor for taking a picture in the control room of a submarine to show his family. Well, I was apparently classified. Thank God Trump pardoned him, but only after he spent a year in jail. But they let David Petraeus walk for his book because, you know, he was in with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton herself, classified email server in the basement, smashed Blackberries with hammers, bleach bit everything, hiding everything. Nothing happened to her. Now Biden has classified documents next to his Corvette that Hunter might have been blowing lines off the hood of, telling his writer, oh, this is classified. Check it out. Awesome, man. Who then deleted the evidence when he heard about the investigation. How many times have we seen Democrats just get away with anything and everything that they are locking conservatives up for? By the way, this is why Republicans lose elections. Not by bad policy, but by doing absolutely nothing. Good luck in the midterms. Attorney at Judicial Watch and author of the fantastic book Defiant, who was the person who received that search warrant by the Biden FBI at Mar-a-Lago, Christina Bobb. I'm just going to let you do this while my blood pressure comes back down.
Well, I love your monologue, and I think the reason why your show is so popular is because you have your finger on the pulse of the American people, and the American people are frustrated. We were frustrated under Biden, so there was basically an avalanche of conservative votes for Republicans saying we want our nation to do a 180. We don't like the way this is going. And now, now we don't have the results that we wanted, even though we gave Republicans everything they wanted. They've got the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the White House, the majority of state houses, a majority of state senates, a majority of state AGs, a majority of governors. I mean, we gave them everything at the state and federal level, and we have had very little to show for it.
If Democrats had that kind of majority in the state, we'd have constitutional amendments that would make everybody gay. This is so mind-boggling to me. Some of those tapes, by the way, it was also showing that Biden was completely losing it, which every media person, including Jake Tapper, who's now written a book about how the big cover-up, was like, no, this has not happened. It was like his memory was significantly limited. I mean, listen to this real quick.
Including the two guys who I think were with me were, the guy at Princeton now, economist, good guy, was our chief economic advisor, not Kaufman, think of his name. And the guy back out of the University of Chicago with a funny name.
These are people he worked with for years. This is 3 years before he was put in as president.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. He clearly was not cognitively at his peak here. And the media covered for him because the media and the whole establishment didn't really care who was in the White House as long as he was pushing the agenda that I say the left, but the left is a lot broader than just Democrats because you have a lot of Republicans doing their bidding too. It's the political establishment. It's this whole idea of, like you said, us versus them. Who is willing to keep this gravy train going for us, including Republicans? And Joe Biden happened to be the one at the top at that time. And so they didn't care. They covered for him. And then now if we raise it, they go, oh, who cares? It's not a big deal.
Yeah, just throw somebody in jail. Otherwise, they're going to lose the midterms. Here's something, though. D&I. Now, look, you and I have been in the military circles and intelligence circles for a while. Yep. Bill Pulte, who's, announcing another round of deep state terminations, which I am super here for. Like, how can I eat popcorn and watch this happen from the closest possible vantage point? But he's announcing that his office has reduced staff by 30% from 2 weeks ago. I got to say, what does this do? Like 30% people are like 30%. Okay, how much of the barriers and the stalling does that actually remove towards getting the president's agenda done properly?
Well, I think it's incredibly helpful. The concerning part is, I mean, they have a huge bench. They can bring more people in. And the question then becomes, are those terminations enough deterrents to get people to actually do their jobs, or are they just going to keep, the assembly line going through? I know Clayton's going in there, or supposed to be going in there soon, assuming he's confirmed. He was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Where are their documents? I mean, it's not like the Southern District of New York has been squeaky clean, and we've seen nothing come out of the Southern District of New York. And so I hope Bill Pulte can clean house, and I hope people realize that this actually is going to be the end of their career if they don't actually do the president's agenda. But the swamp is deep.
Yeah, they do. And I always tell them they gotta fire these people, eliminate the positions, and then sell the building they were in so there's nothing to come back to.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's another one. I'd love to sell the state of New Jersey back to England if I could. The governor, Mickey Sherrill, is refusing to share voter information with the Justice Department. This was after the 6,600 non-citizens were registered to vote. But then, on top of that, they came out and they were like, hey, Harmony Dillon was like, let's look into this. Turns out it was like 3,400 or 34,000 according to a Trump truth. And then we find out that there's a report of 75,000 non-citizens that were actually sent jury duty summons, which means the number of registered illegals was 75,000.
Yeah. This is not surprising because, as many of us, you and I both together, have been screaming about this at least since 2020. I know this was a problem before, but it really came to the surface at 2020. And Democrats know they cannot win without voter fraud. And that the only way that a lot of these Democrats are even in office is potentially fraudulent. And the more they want to hide this, the more it looks like it's related to fraud. And so I'm not accusing Mickey Sherrill of fraud or anything along those lines. However, it certainly bodes to the discussion of why aren't you turning it over?
Legal disclaimer, I'm not accusing you, but you look awful guilty, lady.
You look guilty.
Yeah. I mean, you got Act Blue, you've got USAID money that was cut off, all the whatever. If we had free and fair elections, it would, in the sense that we didn't have illegals and all this other money going into it, it would be a landslide for Republicans. 100%. Christina Bobb, pleasure.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, there's a scientific link between testosterone and political beliefs, believe it or not. A new study says that's 100% true. I'm going to break that down in just a bit. But first, the media spent years turning Anthony Fauci into this, golden calf. Now, his very own diary is exposing how much of a liar he was. And he's going to be on Capitol Hill tomorrow. Will he plead the fifth? More on Fauci's diary with Congressman James Comer next.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
The Steel Across America tour is incredible.
We have a piece of steel that is going to go around 40 different locations in America. It is an I-beam from the South Tower. It has steel, it has concrete in it, and it has my brother's soul in it.
It's a massive undertaking, but a huge part of our Never Forget motto. It's going to be powerful. Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
If you have wet AMD or DME, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. And your condition doesn't have to steal the moment. Long-lasting EYLEA HD delivers powerful vision improvements that can save your vision for the future. EYLEA HD is the first and only treatment for wet AMD and DME that gives you a chance for 5 months between injections after 1 year of successful response. Don't take EYLEA HD if you have an eye infection, eye pain, redness, or are allergic to it. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye, or increased eye pressure. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke. There's still so much to see. Ask about next generation EYLEA HD, a treatment retina specialists trust.
I want to thank you for the service you're providing to America. It means a lot to all of us.
Dr. Fauci, we really appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. Thank you very much for all of the information.
Tony, thank you for caring about me and my family. Thank you for caring about all of us.
I'm glad that you stayed because you are the trusted voice.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan.
For one of the busiest scientists in the country right now, it is an honor to have some of your time.
Gag. They called him a hero, the nation's doctor. They put him on like magazine covers that I use to start fires in my fireplace. They made him a pop culture icon. Apparently, nobody appreciated Anthony Fauci, though, more than Anthony Fauci. Yesterday, we talked about the newly released diary entries from Senator Rand Paul showing that Fauci just marveling over his own explosive fame while people were literally dying, not to mention the fact that he was the highest paid human in like the history of the U.S. government, more than the president of the United States. And he, by the way, he's sitting at home right now laughing his ass off with a blanket pardon and a pension. Quite a legacy from the man who told us he was the science. Kentucky Congressman and chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, can you guys do something about taking his pension away at least?
Well, I don't know if we can do that or not. I would certainly be the one to sponsor the bill and vote for it. And I know Rand Paul would as well. Yeah.
Just do it. See what happens.
There have been a lot of bills filed to try to strip pensions, and they never make it to the floor of the House or the Senate, even though the House has passed all of President Trump's agenda. President Trump will get behind it. Yeah, I think we could definitely get it through the House. I don't know what we can get through the Senate. But with Dr. Fauci, we did the investigation. We've got a criminal referral sitting in the Department of Justice. Rand Paul did a criminal referral. I think it's the only criminal referral that Rand has done since he's been chairman of that committee. And hopefully this hearing tomorrow, with all the new evidence of the diary, on top of everything else and everything that we've learned, and now the fact that even the liberal media, who had no curiosity whatsoever and would dare to challenge anything Dr. Fauci said, all they did was kiss his rear end like you showed those clips before. Now everyone knows he lied. Everyone knows we were funding gain-of-function research. Everyone knows that he lied about the origins of COVID. So hopefully this hearing now will be the icing on the cake, and he's either going to plead the fifth or he's going to lie. Either way, the Department of Justice has the ability to hold Dr. Fauci accountable, and let's hope they do it.
Yeah, well, so what's like? Could you just walk over there and tell Todd Blanche, like, dude, like, get your act together, or we're gonna lose the midterms?
Well, Todd Blanche is doing a lot better than his predecessor with respect to accountability.
I agree with that.
A lot. We've seen, dozens and dozens of people convicted of fraud. They're trying to prosecute people for fraud in Minnesota and Ohio, New York, and California, and hopefully that's going to continue to spread. I give Vice President Vance a lot of credit with that. I can see a big uptick in the Department of Justice with respect to the activity towards accountability, because it was zero for over a year. And I agreed with everything in your monologue, and I share your frustration, especially with the Biden family, because we spent a lot of time on the Biden investigation and a lot of time on the pardons. And it wasn't so much that the auto pen was used as much as it was that there's no evidence in all those depositions that Joe Biden ever told anyone to do anything. There was no evidence Joe Biden was in the room. And the Constitution only gives the president the ability to pardon, not his staff. So I agree with what you said, and I think tomorrow is going to be a big step forward towards accountability with Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, well, it was your committee that exposed the loan repayment checks that there apparently was never any original loan to go with.
Never.
I got to get your take on this, all right? Mitch McConnell, his office releasing another picture, but look, how hard is it to FaceTime the voters and say, hey, guys, like, I'm good. Thanks for the well wishes. I'm just, still in the hot. Like, I don't believe he's okay.
Yeah, well, I talked to his chief of staff yesterday. They're wanting to set up a call with Andy Barr and myself. Andy's, of course, going to be the replacement for Mitch McConnell. He's a colleague of mine in Congress. So we haven't talked to him yet, but we're trying to work on the call. We're all in different directions. I take that he's alive, and I told the McConnell staff, I think that this has been handled poorly, the same as I told the president on the Epstein files. I think this has been handled poorly. So hopefully they can get this together, and you gotta show up. And if you don't show up, you got to explain why. And we had a member of Congress that didn't show up for a long time in the House. We had several Democrats that didn't show up.
Yeah.
And, I think as long as you're being transparent, I think the American people will have, some sympathy. And that's where the issue is with the transparency. So hopefully they'll do more than release pictures, and hopefully he'll be back in the Senate very soon.
Yeah, wish him well. But I mean, at the same time, like if Republicans are doing the same thing that Democrats did to cover up Biden, it's not cool. Congressman, we appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, the Bill of Rights protects all Americans from all state, or for all states, but why do some states continue to infringe on your Second Amendment rights, folks? Why do you need any type of permit to carry your gun? We should have national reciprocity. 2-Way Tuesday, next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 92 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you.
It really is incredible.
Don't place your order until after you've watched the 3 videos on our website.
If you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
God, I'd kill for an old-fashioned.
Bonds. Corporate bonds.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. With Ethos, it's so fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Febreze. Why do we rely on a Febreze cabin air filter? I'll show you. Ooh, sour. Best but dirtiest co-pilot. Gotta love rush hour.
Advanced PureFlow technology eliminates nasty cabin odors while trapping 99% of harmful pollutants and maximizes airflow.
Smartest way to fresh odorless air is as simple as Febreze, right, bud?
Try an unscented Febreze cabin air filter powered by PureFlow. Go to pureflowair.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Hammond with Signal Relief. If your back bothers you day after day, you know it doesn't just affect your back. It changes how you stand, walk, sleep, and how you feel about yourself. Maybe you smile through the grandkids' game, the grocery store, the yard work, or the family trip, quietly counting the minutes until you must sit down, or maybe you just miss those moments altogether. I know how frustrating it is when your body starts making decisions for you. And that's why I'm proud to introduce Signal Core, our new back support system built specifically for everyday backaches. More technology means more relief, and Signal Core has twice the technology as the original patch. And it comes with our money-back guarantee. It's targeted drug-free back support that you can wear through the day. Try Signal Core today by going to signalrelief.com and order your Signal Core.
All right, it's 2-Way Tuesday, so let's do some gun stuff. This is why we need national reciprocity, which, by the way, the House passed and the Senate has not even considered taking up, because a number of pro-2A groups are filing amicus briefs urging Maryland's Supreme Court, which is not going to do a thing, to reconsider or to consider an appeal of Darius Duval. Who's that? Well, he's a dude, a D.C. guy, actually, with a D.C. carry permit, which is super hard to get, who was searched at a traffic stop in Maryland, then arrested and incarcerated for carrying a firearm. I remind you of the 10th Amendment that clearly states the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Basically, if it's in the Constitution, the states can't do anything about it. So tell me where Maryland gets off regulating a constitutional right being exercised in a neighboring state, separated by some imaginary line on a map. Would this work for the First Amendment? Could Maryland bar you from practicing religion or exercising free speech or peaceably assemble despite your constitutional rights, different from D.C.? What about the Third Amendment? Could Maryland require you to house a soldier? Fourth, could you be subject to an unreasonable search and seizure, which is also in question in this traffic stop, by the way? Maryland just basically said, yeah, we don't care about what he's allowed or righted to do in D.C. Hell, would Maryland deny you the right to a speedy trial or impose excessive bail when you're protected under the Constitution anywhere else? Of course not. Why, then, is it always the Second Amendment that's always being infringed upon by jurisdictions that have no jurisdiction? Host of Bearing Arms Cam & Company podcast, Cam Edwards, and Second Amendment columnist at Breitbart News, AWR Hawkins. AWR, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Carl, already. And I'm thinking while you were speaking about McDonald v. Chicago 2010, where in addition to what you're talking about with the 10th Amendment, you have the Supreme Court saying that those rights contained in the Second Amendment are incorporated via the 14th Amendment. And I mean, it makes no sense. And we have to get to a place where we go, okay, our carry permit is the Second Amendment. Either we look at that permitlessly nationally, or as you said, there's some kind of national carry setup, but this is ridiculous and it has to stop.
Yeah, I mean, kids used to carry guns to school during hunting season, and guess what? There were no mass shootings then. Cam, a federal judge, though, has upheld Connecticut, my home state's handgun ban for 18 to 20-year-olds. Now, I joined the military from Connecticut at 20. So that means that in Connecticut, I could become a Navy SEAL and then go to war with a handgun without being allowed to carry one at home in the Constitution state.
It's amazing, isn't it, Carl? And we're seeing this this fallacy, not just from this judge in Connecticut, but from a number of courts around the country that, they say, well, if you go back to 1791, minors were considered people under the age of 21. And so therefore, it's okay to ban gun possession or gun sales to people who are under 21 today, even though these aren't minors, Carl, right? An 18-year-old can enlist in the military. They can get married. They can sign all kinds of contracts. Vote. They can vote. If they commit a crime, they're tried as an adult. Mm-hmm. But yet the courts, when it comes to them lawfully exercising their Second Amendment rights, say, oh, no, they're minors. And AWR was right about the Supreme Court needing to take up a right to carry reciprocity issue. SCOTUS turned away 5 cases that dealt with the Second Amendment rights of young adults this last term. And it was shocking. They really need to take up one of these cases because the rights of these young Americans are being abused right now.
Wonder if they reconsider it if, they stop joining the military. I don't know. All right, I want to stay in Connecticut on my Attorney General William Tong. He's literally, AWR, soliciting law firms to help sue gun companies, but only if they have good workforce diversity. What a crock.
Right. It's all... The door on this has to be closed too, Carl. I mean, whereas the door on national reciprocity needs to be open, the door on these lawsuits, I don't understand with the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act being in place, how they found all these back doors that at the state level, they still can do this or they want to do this, but this has to be stopped. And I don't know if we're going to have a Supreme Court ruling on this or what. It's a shame that we don't just have a Congress that handles business, but something has to happen to stop this, because you bankrupt the gun makers, then that's it.
That's their goal. Cam, on your podcast, it's just fantastic, and I think everybody should listen to, by the way, you regularly highlight good guys with guns, and we'd like to start doing the same thing here with your aid. Los Angeles County, a man with a knife was shot and killed at a barbecue restaurant after terrorizing customers and staff. Wow, weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And it's even weirder that, now in Southern California, people can actually get a concealed carry license. That really wasn't the case until just a few years ago after the Bruin decision. So here you have somebody who lawfully possessed a firearm in that restaurant eating. All of a sudden, the unthinkable happens. This guy comes in. Apparently, this guy had already, and I'm sorry for being so graphic, he'd already slit his own throat when he runs into the restaurant, starts threatening customers. And this guy, again, pulled out his firearm, warned the guy to stop, actually, but the guy didn't listen. And, being hailed as a hero in California. Who would have thought?
Exactly. Free dirt naps for crazy people. Thank you, Cam, AWR. Appreciate it. All right, coming up, we knew the divide within the Democrat Party was growing as the socialists continue to go further and further and further left. But even CNN's pointing it out because numbers don't lie. Next.
This Friday on Carl Higbie Frontline. Don't miss Carl Higbie live from Goals in Des Moines. Marking 50 years of defending Second Amendment rights. Friday on Carl Higbie Frontline.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
As history's preeminent expert on emergency communication, I fully endorse Rapid Radios. They are the only nationwide license-free push-to-talk walkie-talkies without any monthly fees. That's right, you get access to most carriers' networks without a contract. With Rapid Radios, you can communicate instantly from this Washington to that one. Isn't that right, George?
Darn straight. And I don't lie. That's my thing.
Now I know what you're thinking. I don't need no fancy highfalutin walkie-talkie. I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously unreliable during emergencies and when you're in the middle of nowhere. Plus, Rapid Radios are great for remote adventures, emergency preparedness, and workplace communications, and for keeping in touch with your loved ones.
Hey, Pa. Over.
You make me so proud, son. Over. Get your family connected with Rapid Radios today.
Go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off today. Plus, free shipping. Rapid Radios. The best way to stay connected.
It's 2 a.m. Your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
My gutters were clogged, and I know that can be a big problem, so I called Leaf Filter.
Leaf Filter Pros will clean out, reinforce, and protect your gutters. Our surgical-grade stainless steel micro mesh keeps the debris out and water moving. Call or click today.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been a physician for 4 decades. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time, and Fatty 15 is one product that actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. A brilliant veterinarian realized that dolphins get disease much like humans. She looked at what predisposed to those problems, isolated the molecule, gave it to the animals. They didn't get the problem. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. Cell health equals physical health. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Today's AI capabilities can make your head spin, but for scammers, it's the ultimate tool. They're using AI to exploit tech gaps and slip past traditional security. PCmatic keeps your information private and devices safe with online security solutions developed in America to protect Americans. Built for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Secure 5 devices for just $50 for your first year. Get online protection at PCmatic.com.
We have been saying that the Democrat Party is crumbling, and even CNN is admitting it now.
We're not just talking down there underneath the Potomac. We're talking down there with the Titanic. We're talking 24 points underwater. And this is just the party overall. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible brand. Compared to the DSA now, 25 points underwater. Twice as unpopular as the Tea Party was back in June of 2010. Voters saying that Democrats are too liberal. 57%, they think that the Democratic Party is out of the mainstream, out of the frame, I dare say. My God, this is a massive, massive problem.
Loving this one. Newsmax contributor Kay Smythe, the host of Tony Katz Today. Tony Katz. Kay, I mean, they did it to themselves, and I'm just here to cheer it on.
Yeah, me too. I'm here for the party. I mean, who didn't see this coming? Like, wasn't it just so painfully obvious? I mean, if the whole like go woke, go broke thing didn't teach the Democrats something, I'm just hoping I hope the 4 viewers of CNN call someone at the DNC and say, hey guys, you got a socialist problem and you're all going to end up homeless, just like all those people that you leave on the streets in every single city that you run. Yeah. Definitely saw this one coming.
Yeah, not only are they too lib, Tony, but Democrats are also losing steam in this midterm poll, down 1 point with Republicans up 2. And the thing is, what people don't understand, and you can explain this is momentum, and you don't want to be surging right now. You want to be doing exactly what Republicans are doing.
And think of how Republicans are doing it. You have a war. You have fluctuations in oil prices. You still have tariff issues going on. You have cost issues going on. And Democrats still can't get themselves in a place where they have a clear opportunity for victory in a year where, based on all the traditional data, they're supposed to have victory. You know, you talk about the
They
Tea Party
mortgaged their
versus the
headquarters.
I don't know what. It'll be a great Dave and Buster's when that thing finally goes into foreclosure. It's going to be a world-class thing. Never forget, when they compare it to the Tea Party, they spent every waking moment lying about what the Tea Party is, calling the Tea Party racist and everything else. Their problem here is that everybody's telling the truth about the DSA, that they're communists and nobody wants it. And the place you got to look is black liberals who absolutely know they're getting pushed aside. They're the ones who led the fight on civil rights. They're the ones who said, we need to be equal here. We need to make this happen. And here come the socialists to say, oh, we'll make you all equal. You don't stand a chance.
Exactly.
Watch for black liberals.
Yeah, and it was like the Democrats, some Democrat was like, hey, let's call Tom Selleck and get a reverse mortgage on our DNC headquarters so we can fund another Kamala run. But speaking of the black voters, James Talarico just made a $25 million pledge to black voters. Listen to this.
Well, there is no way to win Texas without black Texans. If we're going to do that effectively, we have to show up for, invest in, and listen to black communities, black business leaders, black faith leaders, black elected officials. I've been visiting black-owned businesses and black churches all over Texas. I've been appearing on black media. We are polling better with black Texans than any Democrat in modern Texas history.
One, the guy who's basically like whiter than cottage cheese said the word black about 88 times. Well, it turns out there's only 11% of the voting population in Texas. So to his point, you actually can win without black voters in Texas. Okay, we got you there?
Oh, yeah, sorry. This guy, every time he comes up, I keep having to remind myself that he is not a parody of a Democrat. Because when you listen to the way he speaks, he sounds like a joke. He sounds like a clown show. But this is what the Democrats have become. They don't care about policy. Their only policy is like, we don't like Trump and we're going to try and get rid of Trump. You're not going to get rid of Trump. He's got like 2 years left and then he's going to go, happily on to his retirement or whatever he does next. Probably something very cool. But it just goes to show if you want to know exactly what the modern young Democrat is thinking, just listen to James Talarico. Your brain will melt out of your ears and you'll realize why they're not just polling badly in Texas, but literally everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's literally it. All right, that's all the time we got today. Appreciate both you guys. Kate, Tony, we'll see you next week. All right, folks, Newsmax, we actually have some exciting news to share with you, okay? It was just announced that Newsmax and Meta have signed a partnership agreement. Now, before you freak out that we're partnering with Meta, this is actually a good thing for your access to our program. The new partnership gives Meta access to Newsmax content, so when you type it in on Facebook or other platforms, it's actually going to populate a lot more of us and a lot less of the other guys. Meta is one of the biggest online companies and the parent company, obviously, of Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. So you can actually find out more information about this by scanning that thing on your TV or going to newsmaxinvest.com. Find out about Newsmax. We're also on the New York Stock Exchange, as you saw. Our stock's been creeping up. Seems like a pretty good investment to me. But you can join our news revolution, folks. Coming up, we didn't need a study to tell us that the more testosterone you have, the more conservative you lean. But now, we do have that study. Next.
IRAs and 401ks were designed to account for a 2% rate of inflation. The idea was you could apply a 4% withdrawal rate and it would last. Inflation is at 3.8%, but when you account healthcare, insurance, food, and energy, the real rate is 8%. Gold's role isn't to make you rich, it's to help you survive what's coming. Call Patriot Gold Group at 1-800-778-4156. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the America 250 no fee for life IRA. Call 1-800-778-4156 and see how easy it is to protect your IRA with physical gold and silver. Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Turns out the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservation. Latham's premium handcrafted pools can be installed in weeks. Our pools won't stain or crack and never require costly resurfacing. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
God, I'd kill for an old-fashioned. How do you do that?
Bonds. Corporate bonds.
I like winning on the field, but it's even more fun winning on Deal Dash.
Lori won $2,000 Tiffany earrings for just $1, and Joseph won an iPad for just $6. There's millions of fast auctions. So try today at DealDash.com for $50 of free credit and your first win guaranteed.
Ridge is back with our 6th annual sweepstakes. With prizes so epic, we needed a spokesperson to match.
These are pretty nice. You can win a Lamborghini, souped-up trucks, or $100,000 cash.
Enter to win for free at Ridge.
Wait, free?
Yeah.
How is my mother gonna... Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today. This could be it. Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
BRB, got a screen for colon cancer.
At halftime?
Yeah. With the Cologuard Plus test, you can start screening at home in about 15 minutes.
It's simple and non-invasive.
Nice assist.
False positive and negative results may occur.
Like, one of my favorite things to do is make fun of how weak libs are. I have never met a lib, actually, who benches more than me, as I come to think of it. Actually, one of my favorite things to do, I go to Equinox, so I like to watch them struggle with my warm-up weights at the gym. However, there is now real science, okay, that the libs are severely lacking testosterone. And when they are administered testosterone, they become more conservative. Here, from the study. This is the conclusion tab, okay? Our results demonstrate that the testosterone induces a red shift among weakly affiliated Democrats, providing evidence that testosterone affects political preferences. They went on to discuss the further left you are, the less testosterone you generally have. Look, most of us could probably have guessed this without a study, but since the government throws money at everything, they did this one, and now it's a thing. So this is my opinion here. I'm not a doctor. I didn't even finish college. But I think I can lay out why people gravitate towards different sides. See, testosterone is the one thing that men have that makes us men on like a psychological level too, not just a physical level. There are all these studies about the most elite combat warriors all having super high testosterone. And that's because the type of people that choose those roles were attracted by the fact that it is a testosterone-based environment. Testosterone is also growth, hence why people take steroids. If that doesn't just bump your testosterone like 200 points, I don't know what will. But also, it's definitively true that people with more testosterone are more independent. We're self-reliant, we're less depressed, and we're more aggressive, which is a good thing, okay? It's not toxic, which totally jives with the study because Democrats and their policies are the complete opposite of that. Their policies are like these feel-good policies, the umbrellas and safety nets and community jargon and weird purple-haired victimhood. Democrats are the party of handouts like welfare and other programs, whereas Republicans use these benefits as a safety net system far less than Democrats, which jives with having, again, more testosterone, like the opposite of that guy. See, the issue is 10,000 years ago or whatever it was, if you couldn't hunt your own food, you didn't survive. Obviously, you didn't breed if that was the case. You couldn't procreate, and women are genetically designed to seek the most capable male of defending them, despite what the modern feminist movement has tried to convince women of today. Today, unfortunately, we don't have to defend ourselves from saber-toothed tigers and hunt woolly mammoths for our food, which has allowed the rise of the weak man. In fact, what was basic survival skills like not even that like 150 years ago, they're now like obscure hobbies demonized by most Democrats, like we just saw in Oregon, where they were trying to ban hunting, if you can believe it or not. They almost got it, too. So weak people not only survive today, they thrive in a party that traffics in weakness and grievances. And the stupid, weak people have somehow become this, like these freak shows have become such a loud and large part of the population that they're silencing smart, strong people so their fellow mentally ill, weak people won't be offended by reality. It's like, I swear, it's like an episode of The Twilight Zone. And there was an interesting study also that showed the level of mental illness per your political standings. The study found, this is crazy to me, the study found that women on average reported in the Gen Z bracket the highest levels of depression and diagnosed mental illness, if you can believe it. This means that Gen Z women who identified as liberal were both more likely than all the groups to identify with being mentally ill and more likely than all the groups to report experiences consistent with actually being mentally distressed. I mean, look at these numbers. Half of women in Gen Z said that they were mentally ill. They admitted this. I know, it's hard to believe that these people are mentally ill.
It's a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the...
That's what I do. I like to go to a lake and scream at it when I'm upset about who my president is. But on the flip side, people who identify as very conservative had less than 1/3 the rate of mental illness as people identified as liberal. This goes to happiness, too. And we know in men, low testosterone equals depression. The more conservative you were, the happier you generally were. The more liberal you were, the more miserable you were. The bottom line is liberals can only exist in a society where strong men defend the rights of the weak. The policies and demeanor and statute of the modern liberal, it can't defend itself, and they can't defend their ideas, they can't provide for themselves, and I don't know a single liberal that I would pick for my apocalypse team. So there you have it. Data. The Democrats are weak and don't bench press enough. Before we go, what goes around comes around, how one leftist brewery, flat. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Have you ever thought of getting a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Now is a great time to take a look at getting a Safe Step walk-in tub.
With Safe Step's standard heated seat and new fast fill faucet, you can enjoy a nice warm bath up to 20% faster. And the convenient touchpad control is right at your fingertips.
Each tub comes standard with a dual hydrotherapy system. The 10 water jets can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and improve sleep, while the MicroSoothe advanced air therapy system oxygenates and softens skin.
Safe Step walk-in tubs are built to maximize safety so you can stay in your home and enjoy the comforts of bathing again.
So call now for more information and a free no-obligation consultation,
When you call today, you'll also receive our limited time offer. Don't wait to enjoy safer bathing. Call 1-800-296-0431.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
If you know luxury, it's not just award-winning, it's rewarding. Sadva Mattresses supports all types of sleepers. Luxury is handcrafted and assembled in American factories and brought directly to you with our complimentary in-home delivery and setup service. Which is why over 90% of customers would recommend Sadva to friends and family. Sadva, luxury mattresses made affordable.
Trouble is, dare I say, brewing for one liberal beer maker in the Midwest. A leftist brewery, if you remember, in Wisconsin. It was Minico, I don't even remember the name. It doesn't matter because they're not in business anymore. That once offered to give away free beer if President Trump died. It's lost its license. It's had it revoked by the State Department of Revenue. Not because of the Trump thing, but because it violated another law. I know, weird, right? The revocation comes as the state officials seized all the canned beer from the brewery last month, claiming that the beer had been illegally transported from Illinois without securing proper permits or paying appropriate taxes. Weird, I mean, that a radical leftist who promised free booze to, I don't know, a president when he died did something else shady. But, I mean, holy IPA, Batman. It couldn't, this couldn't happen to a better group, Rob.
So they're not paying their taxes? It's always funny when these people on the left, they don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah, they do, exactly. And then they leave the blue states that they destroyed, and then go to red states and vote for the same crappy policies.
Very severe. I remember that. It's Minocqua Brewing Company.
I don't even
remember
care.
that. I know. Well, I want people to know so they know what beer not to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
See, there you go.
Naga,
give them the name.
Not gonna drink it anymore.
Carl, good to see you.
Word.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.